Welcome back. Today we're going to do a quick one on the HarmonicDyne Black Hole headphones. So these retail for about $100 on Linsoul. The build quality is okay. It's a lot of plastic. It's very much a lightweight comfort style build. They do feature a 50mm high magnetic flux dynamic driver. There is some nice graphic touches on the sides. You get some, kind of designs and some textures and, some kind of things that you would expect at a $100 build quality. What's most unique, I think, about these guys, and maybe at the price point, they call these a pressure relief cavity. So these are what they would call semi-closed. So there's an open cavity back here to release some pressure, but it also allows some external noise to come through as well. So not totally closed back, they call them semi-closed. So if you are into total isolation, maybe these are not the perfect fit for you. The cable is kind of a nice sleeve cable. I don't have any problems with it. It's kind of nice. But yeah, I think we'll start right here. And I think the name and the price are quite appropriate. I think the price for $99 or $100, I think it does round out HarmonicDyne's portfolio, gives you a fun, casual listen at their lower end of their portfolio. Not all that far, not much of a stretch for the price point. But at the same time, I think that the bass level on this thing is actually quite high, and I think it will swallow the mids like a Black Hole does. I think the name was a little bit ironic, and it's kind of an interesting, really bassy style tuning. And at the same time, I'll say, like most fun things, this one is a very fun set. It sounds better turned up. At lower volumes, the mid tend to sound a little less focused, a little bit more recessed, and you do need a little bit more volume to bring them forward. And like I said, they kind of get swallowed up in the bass if you don't have enough volume. So there isn't really a treble peak here to prevent you from raising the volume as high as you can go. Everything tends to fall better in place that way. The mids kind of come forward. Treble sounds a little bit more present, and it sounds a little bit more balanced. And yeah, kind of a fun casual listen as opposed to something that's maybe more similar to their other sets. I think this one is the lower cost fun brother of their portfolio. So sound, I think this one is a bassy, warm, chill, relaxed sound. Very much like the intro to The Doors' Riders on the Storm. You know how that one begins. Kind of that low-key, bassy, relaxed, very, very low-key beginning to that track. But you also notice that there's a storm outside and the rain's hitting the windows. And that's sort of where you notice that the volume really needs to be turned up for the raindrops to have some attack to them, to have a little more definition to them, to sound more like rain hitting a window. It does come off a bit soft and a bit recessed. It's really harder to hear the rain at lower volume. So yeah, I know people don't want to always turn up the volume to hear everything come forward, but on this one, if you want to hear the mids come forward and to have a little bit more clarity in the mids, you definitely do need a little bit more volume. And techs are pretty much the same way, like everything else. It just needs more volume to appear, but this really isn't the strong suit of this set, and it does say high resolution on the side, but technically I think the tuning isn't really open or intended to be sound large. It's very much a fun, casual tuning. The bass, again, a very warm, bassy, warm style that runs right into the mids. For a set that does say high resolution, like I said on the side, they could have tweaked the bass level just a little bit down, and that would have brought out a little bit more resolution in the mids. It wouldn't sound, so overly bassy and overly thick. So I kind of applaud them for putting it on the side, but they probably should have put it in the tuning as well. I think that would have been a good move. It would have been better to expose a little bit more of that resolution in the mids. And the mids, it definitely rides that line between sounding very relaxed, very warm, very smooth, nice long session style, but it also needs enough treble to sound clear, and that's why I kind of keep on harping on the volume thing. You definitely need volume to get you some kind of clarity in the mids, otherwise they sound really far back, unfocused, not quite as clear, it doesn't have much clarity. The balance is really shifted really lower. And a bit more of that treble contribution would have added that a bit more definition so you could hear those raindrops with some nice attack, and would have given you a little bit more clarity in the mids. Or they could have brought the bass down, and that probably would have done something similar. Treble, they did a very familiar do no wrong, no peaks, no fatigue style. but they really undershot the balance point. You know, it's one thing to have a very bassy, warm style, but you need some kind of counterbalance to it on the upper end, so everything still has some sharpness to it, some definition to it, some clarity in the mids. Everything kind of sounds like, you know, people are very used to, even at this price point, people are used to what their living room speakers might sound like, or what their car stereo sounds like, and how voices sound. And this one is just kind of an overly thick presentation, and just a little bit more of treble would have really balanced that out. So I think on one hand, there's really no bright spots, there's no fatigue, but it does take Black Hole towards a very, very casual listen, stretching, you know, the expectations of what you would want at $100. You know, as I said, people have expectations of what things should sound like and what vocals should sound like, and you know, it always helps to hit those marks even at $100. And a track like this, Oasis Wonderwall, you know, very familiar track. This one is a very bassy, thick, bottom-heavy version of that. It's fun to listen to. It's, you know, very bottom-heavy, but, you know, I think at $100, people kind of want to pop it on, and it sounds like headphones sound like their speakers or sound like their car, and this one is just a very thicker, lower-heavy version of that. And same thing on stage. Stage and imaging, similar in that the balance is just a bit off, so it's going to sound a bit smaller, it's not going to sound as separated, you know, all those things that kind of fall out of this style tuning. But again, as a casual, fun, very warm, non-offensive style, I think they kind of got that right. But yeah, that's what I got on HarmonicDyne's Black Hole. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.